Time for another shop upgrade. This one we really needed.
Alright guys, so you know we've been doing a lot of big glue ups, and right now our glue up setup works, but not great, and it takes up a lot of room. So Dad found these clamp companions online. He saw an ad for them on Instagram, and they look like they are awesome, and they're going to save us a ton of space. So we're going to hang those on this wall right here. But the problem is we got to clear all this stuff off the wall and make space for it first. So that's the first part of this project. Let's get into it.
At first, we were going to redo the whole garage, but then we decided we just don't have time for that. So we're going to eventually paint the wall this is on and redo everything, but for the purpose of this video, we're just mounting these things and installing them. So don't judge us too harshly on how bad the garage is.
Alright, so Dad put one of our clamping companions together. It's 6 bolts in the back. It's really well machined. I will say there were a couple holes that had a little bit of a burr, but not a big deal. So now we have our wall clear. So we figure we're going to put the clamp right about this area. And that way we can use all 3 notches, which are the 3 levels based on the weight capacity. If we put it up any higher, then it's going to be really hard to use the top one. Any lower, then we're only going to be able to use a 3-foot clamp. So this is about right. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure our wall is level, and we need to cut a 2x6 to mount these two. We could mount them straight to the wall, but we want to mount them to a 2x6 to give it a little bit more stability, and also to make it easier to make sure that thing is level all the way across the board. So let's get started on that.
The directions say the first thing you got to do is make sure your wall is level, which luckily ours was good to go. But one of the reasons to use a 2x6 to mount these things is so you can shim the back of it if your wall isn't level. So we got our mark where we need our 2x6 to be, and then we temporarily mounted it to the drywall just with some 3-inch wood screws, basically just to hold it up so we could make our marks where the studs are, and then we can attach the brackets to the studs. By the way, this little stud finder right here, I think it's like $8 on Amazon. Best stud finder I've ever used. I'll leave a link for that in the description too, because all the electronic ones are garbage compared to this little magnetic one. I love this thing.
All right, we got our 2x6 temporarily mounted to the wall. We got it perfectly level. We know that it's plumb to the wall. Now we just got to mount our caddies on there with the lag bolts that they provided. So we're just going to put these on here, drill the holes, and get these things mounted, and we're mounting each one on a stud. So we've got 4 of them, and we're mounting them all on the studs. That's what the way it was designed, so the lag will go clear through here, clear through the 2x6, and clear into the stud. Let's get it done.
Even though this is pretty simple, that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. You want to try to keep that bracket as straight as possible. If one is cockeyed or crooked, then when you have a big glue up, it's not going to move because it's going to bind up with the other ones. So we lined the top of it up with the top of the 2x6 and marked right in the middle of those holes. We drilled pilot holes, and then we started sinking those 3-inch lags. But there was a bit of an issue.
So the lag bolts that they provided, they're the right size, but they're not quite as long as I would like them to be. So we decided to go with 1/4 inch, 4-inch long bolts. It just feels like it's gonna bite better. I don't know if maybe our drywall is thick, but these just don't seem quite long enough. So we're gonna use our 4-inch lag bolts. Here we go.
And here we ran into another unexpected little issue. This is actually really simple, guys. We just didn't have the right hardware.
Okay, so here's where we're at. These lag bolts are the right length, but they're too thin. They keep snapping on us. So what Dad did is he's running down the hardware store to see if he can find some 5/16 by 4-inch lag bolts, and I'm gonna take these off and see if I can get the broken bolts out of there. If not, then we'll slide these brackets and line them up with the bottom, and that'll give us plenty of room to mount them. So, here we go.
Not gonna lie, that was a tad frustrating, but it actually worked out because Once we got the right lag bolts, Dad had the idea of putting a little tiny level across each bracket, and that actually helped a lot to make sure that these things are mounted exactly how they have to be. I would have preferred to have them mounted level with the top of the 2x6, but the bottom is just as good, and they work fine. Putting the collars on the pipe clamp is really simple. You're going to loosen them both up, you're going to slide one on, and then you're going to tighten the second one on completely plumb with the top of the pipe clamp. That's going to be your pivot point. What you're going to do is put that in the bracket and then slide that second collar up to where it hits the back of the little ramp and then tighten it up. Just make sure you tighten it up evenly. And that's going to give you the perfect spacing to adjust for each level of the bracket itself. I gotta say, man, this is like a simple design, but it's freaking genius. It really, really works well. The best part about this whole thing is the lack of space it takes in your shop. It really, I think, is gonna help us out a lot with our glue ups.
All right, guys, we got it all set up. It's nice and solid. It was actually easier than I thought it was going to be as far as putting the collars on. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult to do that. Pretty easy. The instructions are great. So now we're just going to do a glue up. But on this glue up, we only need 3 of these. So we're going to put one of them away, and you'll see we can put it right back on the rack where it normally goes. So when we're not using this setup, it literally is taking up no room other than that board on the wall. It's a lot cooler than I thought from that standpoint. All right, so let's just do a little glue up and see how this thing works in practicality.
So you guys are seeing our first ever glue up on this. We had the idea that we could spread the glue on the clamps. That doesn't work. So it's gonna take us a little bit of time, probably 2 or 3 more glue ups to really get our system down. But even with just this, it's so much better than doing it on our bench like we have been. We don't have all of the prep with laying out the shower curtain, covering everything so we don't get glue all over the place, having to get all the clamps lined up and stuff. It's just, I love these things. I'm actually really looking forward to our next glue up for a big table, and that's saying something, because that is not my favorite part of the whole process. But if you guys are interested, especially if you do a lot of glue ups and you don't have a ton of room to do them, these things are lifesavers.
All right, guys and gals, that's it. I absolutely love this thing. I thought that it would work like this. I kind of hoped it would, but sometimes when you see an advertisement for something online, it doesn't work in a practical application like it does in a video. This wasn't that way at all. We did have a little issues mounting this thing to the wall and getting it secure just because I wanted extra support. But once we got that done, putting these things on, getting the collars on was cake. The instructions were fantastic. So RS Tools, man, you guys build a heck of a product. This thing is unreal. I think I could get up here and jump up and down on it. Honestly, it's that strong. So a couple things that we learned in this first glue up. We should have, we inverted these calls after we had them on so that the thing could swing clear to the ground. So, you know, and the glue up process itself didn't have quite as much glue on there as I wanted. So on the next glue up, we'll do it a little bit different, but basically this thing is rock solid. Absolutely love it. So you can leave it like this for the glue up. You can actually take this thing off if you wanted to, although it gets pretty heavy with these calls on here. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with this thing. I can't wait to do a big table glue up, especially a butcher block, because I think this is just going to save tons of time and tons of frustration. So I know you guys are going to be asking, what do these things cost? For the set of 4, it was $299 plus shipping. Actually, I think shipping was free. So it's about $300 for the 4 of them. Yeah, that's not super cheap. But man, if you're doing a lot of big glue ups, this thing is going to save us so much time and anguish and frustration. The other thing is, the reason we did this is we think we're going to be expanding down the wall. So you can have as many of these. I think you can buy them individually or in pairs. So we'll just keep adding on to this down the wall and eventually be able to do big 10, 12-foot glue ups. So anyway, gosh, this thing is awesome. I absolutely love it. And I can't say that about everything that I've seen that I've bought. So in case you guys don't know, they don't even know we're doing a video on this, the guys over at RS Tools. So we bought these right out of our own pocket. They didn't furnish these, so this is completely and unbiased. We'll leave a link in the description below if you want to go over to their website and check out their products. A+. I recommend them 100%. They're fantastic product. Guys, if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure and subscribe. Hit that like button, and we love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.